This week on the Salesforce Admins podcast, we're talking with Eddie Cliff, VP of Product Management at Salesforce, about some exciting developments in Salesforce Foundations. It was the sublime to Agentforce that you heard at Dreamforce this year. Eddie has been at Salesforce for nearly 14 years, transitioning from roles in go-to-market and solution engineering to now product management. And in this episode, Eddie shares insights into the evolution of Salesforce products like Starter, Pro Suite, and we learn about Salesforce Foundations. Now, before we get started, I just want to make sure that you're subscribed to the Salesforce Admins podcast on whatever platform you get your Salesforce podcasts on. Go ahead and click that subscribe, or sometimes it's a follow button. And that way, when new episodes come in every Thursday morning, they will be downloaded to your phone. So with that, let's jump into our conversation with Eddie, where he explains how Salesforce Foundations is designed to give customers access to even more capabilities within sales, service, and beyond, including all of their existing Salesforce implementations at no cost. So, Eddie, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me again. Good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, product managers that work on good features that admins love, we love to have on the podcast. So if people aren't avid listeners, let's refresh their memory. Tell me what exactly you do at Salesforce and how you came to be.
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Eddie Cliff, VP of Product Management, leading product for our Starter, Pro, and now Foundations suite, which I'm really excited to talk about today. I've been at Salesforce for almost 14 years now and have done a variety of roles from go-to-market and sales and solution engineering and customer success prior to moving into product management about 8 years ago now.
Wow, I didn't know you were SE. I don't think you said that in the last podcast. That's awesome.
Yeah, SEs are amazing in what they can bring from their technical understanding and how Salesforce works, but also working with our customers to understand their requirements and needs and ultimately designing the solutions that they can present back to the customer to hopefully prove out the value of Salesforce as they look to explore it. So I actually have a couple of SEs on my team, or former SEs that are now PMs.
Oh.
SEs make really great PMs because of that kind of solutions mindset that's really tied to customer outcomes, which is super valuable.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I also steal from the SE pot as well because they make for good evangelists too.
Definitely.
And they help us present and run demos at Dreamforce. So doesn't hurt. Speaking of Dreamforce, maybe not lost in, but kind of the byline under Agentforce was Salesforce Foundations, which we announced, and you're leading as kind of the PM for. So let's talk about what Salesforce Foundations is.
Yeah, so it was kind of buried there at the very end of the keynote. So perhaps some people missed it because it was all about Agentforce and it was an amazing keynote. But we're really excited about Foundations because it's going to help customers unlock Agentforce. And so before I talk about Foundations a little bit more, I want to take a step back to talk about AI in general, which I know is top of mind for a lot of businesses today and probably a lot of the admins listening today. And I promise we're going to get to the meat of Foundations, but I think it's important to talk about this first. So first and foremost, great AI starts with great data. And you can only have great data if all of your apps and systems are connected and you have that single source of truth. And that's what Data Cloud really does for a lot of our customers. Now, bringing all that data into one system will lead to happier customers because now you can do targeted marketing, smarter commerce, and more effective sales. And what's really cool is that this also gets all of your data centralized and ready for AI. But it's not easy for a lot of our customers to go from, say, just Sales Cloud or just Service Cloud on their own to the full customer 360 that we talk about a lot. You need time and resources. And I know from a lot of customers I talk to, that's not something that they have the luxury of having. And so that's the goal here with Foundations, is we're making this easier by bringing all of these capabilities to all of our customers through Salesforce Foundations. So Foundations gives all of these sales and service customers access to more of Salesforce included with their existing Salesforce implementation. And this is free. I want to make sure that's clear. That's not something we're charging for, and you can add this to your existing org, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But ultimately, with Foundations, we made it easier than ever before to get started with that connected customer 360 by building our foundational apps into your CRM. And this includes the basic capabilities within Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud, Commerce Cloud, Data Cloud, and now Agentforce, which is really exciting because as of today, it's now available at no additional cost as part of Foundations.
Yeah, free is always good. I also thought for a second that I was like, somebody said, well, did you hear about Salesforce Foundations? And I think they dropped the S. And I was like, yes, I've heard of the Salesforce Foundation. That's not what we're announcing.
No, that's right. Yeah, I know there's a lot of words that we use at Salesforce, and a lot of them sound familiar. But this is Foundations with an S, not our .org, and all of the amazing things that we do via the Salesforce Foundation.
Yeah.
This is the kind of, if you think about it, like the foundations, kind of the the platform, the beginning point of your Salesforce journey and all the power it can bring.
So I feel like all of this kind of existed prior. We just brought it together. I mean, I've seen all this stuff. How did Foundations come to be?
Yeah, and I think, Mike, last time I was on, we were talking about the Pro Suite, and hopefully everybody had an opportunity to listen to that. But this is a refresher, kind of the journey we've been on over the last few years with Salesforce Starter, launching back in 2022. We really built this with this ethos of being easy by default and advanced by choice, and creating that 360 out of the box: sales, service, commerce, and marketing, with a hidden version of Data Cloud that was powering all this behind the scenes. And we were getting a lot of great feedback on Starter. It's really a self-service product. You didn't need any help to get up and running. You didn't need to talk to an account executive. You could sign up online, try it for free, and purchase with a credit card. But what we started to hear from our customers is they wanted more, either because they were growing or they just needed more advanced capabilities and more customization options. And so that's why we launched Pro Suite last year, and to allow for that seamless upgrade from Starter and to allow our customers to get that enhanced set of capabilities and customization options. And again, we were getting really great feedback, which is awesome. And so what we started to hear from customers is they wanted to go up. They wanted to expand to enterprise or even to unlimited edition, but they didn't want to lose any of that 360. They didn't want to go to sales EE and lose the marketing and the commerce and the service capabilities that came with Starter and Pro Suites. So that was kind of the beginning of like, well, let's create this in a way that we can allow customers of Starter and Pro Suites to upgrade and not lose any capabilities. But at the same point, we realized, well, we should make this base set of capabilities available for all of our customers so they can get that value. And they don't have to start with Starter or Pro Suites. They can do this directly in their EE or UE org. And so doing things like allowing sellers to speed up things with payment links. And so they can send people to a digital storefront to take care of transactional deals that might free them up to focus on more strategic opportunities. Or doing cross-cloud scenarios like driving loyalty with Service Cloud and Marketing Cloud working together to create onboarding journeys and loyalty campaigns. And then also allowing marketing teams to get into the mix with really targeted Data Cloud segmentation and personalization tools to execute their email marketing campaigns. And ultimately allowing all the teams within an organization to get better cross-functional visibility by working out of that same system, all underpinned by Data Cloud.
Yeah, I think some of that, I'm thinking through as you were talking through that. A lot of that we saw in the keynote with how I forget the retailer we were talking about, but retailer can go in and the person can shop online and then look at it and then immediately pay in the store, kind of making everything a little bit more seamless as opposed to having to send a link or somebody just call in with a credit card or paying online, kind of the modern way.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so bringing all of these pieces together and making it easy to consume and connecting all the dots so you don't have to do that on your side allows you to do more with Data Cloud, to do more segmentation and personalization because you're capturing that full customer 360 in that unified profile that you can then use. So if you have your commerce order data flowing in, that can be used to trigger marketing campaigns or can be used to surface in a service interaction within a case. And as you start to think about all of the Agentforce use cases you saw at Dreamforce, it's kind of predicated on the fact that you have a connected view of your customer. You built that customer 360, which we know is a challenge for a lot of our customers. And so again, that's kind of the hope here with Foundations, is it will help give you a starting point to start building that customer 360 that you can grow with and scale up with as you need to.
So one thing that struck me as you were walking through your last answer, I was thinking, I started as an admin, and admins start in different orgs that are of different size. I started in enterprise level, so we were EE. With days of always becoming a UE org, right? The big shiny Emerald City. But in your, you said in your answer, customers wanted to expand to EE and above. Was a lot of this predicated on our organizations that were below EE that set up very transactional use cases?
Yeah, good question. It was primarily with those that had started with Starter or with Pro Suite for one reason or another. Maybe that fit their business needs when they were first evaluating Salesforce, and then their needs grew and they needed the EE level of capabilities from a sales standpoint, from a service standpoint, or just from a platform standpoint. And so that's where we wanted to create this seamless motion that they could go up to EE without losing any of the functionality, as well as the experience. Is something we haven't talked about that we've brought in with the Starter and Pro Suites with things like the left nav and our homepage, but ultimately allow them to grow as they need to without losing anything was really important to us. And again, as I was talking about before, we realized that there was a large opportunity here to say, hey, there's a lot of EE customers. Like it's by far and large the most adopted edition for us. There's an opportunity to bring this starter level functionality from marketing, from commerce, and from service to let's say a sales EE customer to start taking advantage of, to start trying out and using and see if it's a good fit. They can start to bring in more team members across the organization, and then those solutions will scale and grow with them. But again, all can underpinned by Data Cloud. So this makes it really easy for them to create that 360 view and sets it up really nicely now for the launch of Agentforce.
Yeah. So that begs the question then, who's eligible to get Salesforce Foundations?
Yeah, so right now, customers with sales and or service, EE or UE, so Enterprise Edition or Unlimited Edition, can get Foundations for free. And that's something that you can do. It just takes a couple of minutes. We'll talk about it. But for those customers that have industries or might have some additional capabilities already in their org, we're working really hard to make Foundations available for you in the near future as well. So stay tuned there. And if you're unsure of what your Salesforce org has and if it's eligible for Foundations, we have a lot of documentation. But of course, you're also always able to reach out to your account executive and talk with them and learn more. And they can even assist with getting Foundations turned on.
Right, because it normally was available to people EE and below, right?
That's right. Yeah. So if you think about what we've done in Starter and Pro Suites, I think probably a simple way to think about what Foundations is the Pro Suite level of capabilities that we built, which is based on Professional Edition, sales, service, marketing, and commerce, and then bringing that level of functionality up to EE and UE so that you get those additional capabilities that you didn't have access to before. Like if you have sales EE or sales UE, you didn't have a lot of this service or marketing or commerce capabilities. You didn't have Data Cloud. And so that's really what we're trying to bring. When you think about a foundational layer of capabilities and value that we can bring to all editions. So everybody can take advantage of it and see the value from it.
It's almost, I think, of the kind of the Steve Jobs early Apple mantra of them looking at remotes and seeing 1,000 buttons and saying, well, yeah, anybody can make something complicated. It's really hard to make something simple, and bringing that motion forward, right? Like sometimes you can overcomplicate things and set up, and in this way, it's just bringing it forward and making it very simple and logical to set up.
Yeah, that's certainly the goal. And that's the ethos that we took with Starter, that easy by default, advanced by choice, that you don't need to be a Salesforce expert to get started with Salesforce. And we've can carry that forward as we launch Pro Suite and now as we're launching Foundations to try to make this as easy as possible for everyone to set up and use and save everyone time in the implementation or adoption of these key features. And you're right, Mike, like it's really hard to take something that's hard and to make it easier. And we have a better, never best mentality as we approach this. There's always work to be done and sharp edges and rough corners to kind of round off and make the experience better and easier to use and fewer clicks to accomplish key tasks. And so that's near and dear to my heart, my team's heart on everything that we do in Starter and Pro and Foundations to hopefully make the product experience as easy to use as possible and as delightful to use as possible as well.
So you mentioned customers with sales and service EE or UE are eligible. How do they turn on? Is it a light switch? That was the joke we made with Lightning, right?
Yeah, and I was as I transitioned into product management, you gave me some PTSD a little bit for the early days of Lightning back in 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had to do a lot of work to really make it so Lightning was something that large organizations could adopt. Foundations is a little bit different, which is really exciting, and it is really simple to add it to your org. And actually in setup now, there's a new Salesforce Foundations setup node that you'll notice at the top left. So if you go into setup and you click on Salesforce Foundations, you'll see all of the steps you need to do in a section called Start Here. And so we've made this super simple to get Foundations added and to get started with in your org. And it does require you'll need to add some SKUs, as we call them, some licenses that need to get added to your org to provision the right level of functionality. And so you'll have to accept some terms and go through that process. It's all powered via your account. Hopefully everybody's seen that really cool self-service capabilities to manage what you have access to in Salesforce. But again, this is free. You're not paying anything. It's just adding these capabilities, accepting the terms, because it's some addendums to MSAs and that's legal terms, and the lawyers required it. But once you agree to all that, then we take care of the rest and provisioning and adding everything to your org. And so then all the necessary pieces will then be present, right? And so you can go through the rest of the steps. Once you've added it in, there's some more sections in that setup node. So if you want to go ahead and enable Data Cloud, you can go through that process. If you want to get started with Marketing Cloud, you can enable that, and Commerce Cloud and so forth. And we're going to continue to add on to this page as well to make it simpler, and so that you can take advantage of some of the experience pieces too, like being able to add the left nav to get our homepage and the quick settings enabled for your users. So we're really excited about that. So it's just the beginning of what you'll see if you log into your org today. More will be coming in the following months and releases.
Good. I like when things just show up and set up. That's a lot easier for me. Early in the podcast, we kind of, talked about how Agentforce stole all the headlines at Dreamforce. I know there was at least one session in the admin track that talked about Marketing Cloud and Data Cloud and their importance. And I've heard you mention all of those in your answers. So I think, tying Foundations to Agentforce, how does this help an admin get ready for Agentforce?
Yeah, this is where it was kind of we hadn't intended on this, right? When we started on Foundations, we didn't intend on this being the foundation for Agentforce. And it was something that just organically happened. And in partnership with that team, we realized, wow, we've got a huge opportunity here, because in Foundations, we have all the necessary pieces that are really required for somebody to get started with Agentforce. And so you may have heard at Dreamforce, but there's a freemium offering of Agentforce that's being included in Salesforce Foundations. And that includes some of those agents that the Autonomous Service Agent, ASA, and the BDR, and some of those sales use cases, which was really exciting. And this podcast, that you're listening to this, it's October 24th or after, and that's the same day as Agentforce is going live in Salesforce Foundations. So if you're listening now, you can get started with agents as part of Foundations. And as I mentioned, all those pieces that you need are there. And so you get Data Cloud out of the box alongside Agentforce, and you get that full foundation suite experience across sales, service, marketing, commerce. And what's really cool here is as you do more and you use more of these cross-cloud capabilities, your data and Data Cloud gets richer and more powerful. And so does Agentforce. So a great example of this, you think about these service use cases, I'm really excited about the possibilities and what our customers are going to do with the autonomous service agents. Really, really cool stuff. Well, you get that base level of Service Cloud now that has knowledge base. And so you can create those knowledge articles and you can start to build out that wealth of information that can then flow into Data Cloud and be used via Agentforce, which is just really cool and not something that you'd have been able to do without Foundations previously.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's always a question that admins get asked is how do I turn this on? You know, Eddie, one of the things I figured out this weekend was working in tech and having done this podcast for so long. I feel like everybody that does technology stuff secretly on the side also has a very tactile hobby of theirs. And this weekend, I used some scrap wood because I live in a housing development and they're building new houses around me. So there's piles of scrap wood that I reclaim as my own. And I just build, random stuff out of it. And it was incredibly fun. I'm wondering, is there a fun hobby that you like to do when you're not working on Salesforce Foundations?
Yeah, tons. And if you go in my garage, there's power tools everywhere. So I love to tinker.
You have to buy a new power tool
things
just for every project, right? I mean, that's the whole reason you do a project.
Yeah, that's the best part. Pick a project you get a new power tool for. Mm-hmm. So I'm always constructing something, whether it's something that we need for the house or something that we like to do. For example, we have this Hobie kayak. It's a trimaran, kind of a sailing kayak, and the seats, as being a product person, you just find the things that really annoy you and you come up with solutions for fixing them. And these seats kind of sit in the bottom of the kayak. And so as you're going around, you start to get wet, right? So there's a solution to this. I can come up with something, get some PVC pipe, I can construct some plans and get some mounts and some boat seats. And voila, I've got some nice cheap seats that I can put into the kayak that's going to keep me dry as I'm going out with my family, which is I've got a 6-year-old. And so he loves to go out on that and go out on the water. And so that was really important to me to have something a little bit more comfortable and also utility of keeping me dry. Because it's got these pedals that you have to use with your feet to kind of propel the kayak. So it's really important that you have a comfortable seat so that your back isn't killing you at the end of the day. We do a lot of that kind of stuff. And then, this past weekend was just tons of gardening that we were finally getting done around the house because it's not so hot anymore. So getting all those plants in place was really exciting and it looks great. So,
and you said sailing kayak. Are they bigger than just the regular kayaks that I'm thinking of?
Yeah, it's a 2-person kayak, and it's got the amas, they call them, the little outriggers on either side. Okay. So it's super stable, and then it's got a fairly big sail that goes into it. So you don't have to use the sail, but in light winds, it sure does make it a lot easier. So you're not pedaling the whole time.
Sure.
And so it's you can beach launch it, so it's really easy to get out into the water and get back onto the trailer. And so it's something that we really enjoy doing as a family together.
Wow. Okay. I had no idea these things existed. I've thought of kayaks before, but that sounds incredible. And pedaling would be, I guess, there's no motor. So
yeah, you get a workout. Actually, that's my next project is to put a mount on the back, and so I can put a trolling motor.
I was going to say
for those days where the current's a little stronger.
Electric motors are getting better. I see them on The Price is Right. These little things that divers can hang on to. They look like wings or whatever, and they pull them under. Get a couple of those.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like kind of a fun thing of it. You get these types of things and you can modify it to fit your needs and your requirements, right? You can come up with solutions to really make it work for you. So I try to apply that same level of thinking that I do at Salesforce to my day-to-day and the things that I use in my day-to-day life outside of work, which is always fun.
Yeah. Well, Eddie, thanks for coming on the podcast and talking about Foundations. I'll have to work on getting somebody on the podcast to see what they think of Foundations as a customer and what they're excited for as a follow-up.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And we're really excited about the future of Foundations. Stay tuned to release notes. There's more coming. We're going to be adding more capabilities to Foundations for you to take advantage of, and those will continue to be free. So keep an eye out for those release notes. And as you turn it on and try it out, we'd love to hear your feedback. So please share your feedback with us, or if you have any ideas, going out to the Idea Exchange and share those with us, because we're constantly reviewing those and seeing what we can implement to help make it better, never best. So thank you for listening, and I appreciate your feedback.
You bet. Thanks, Eddie. So that was a fun conversation with Eddie. I had no idea there were sailing kayaks. Maybe you did. I grew up in the Midwest. We don't have a lot of water around here, so no surprise. But sounds cool. Sounds very cool, except for the pedaling part. Always a fan. If you can have a motor, I'm on board. But if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with at least one person who you think could benefit. I think a lot of people can benefit from understanding and learning more about Salesforce Foundations. And of course, whatever podcast platform you're listening on, go ahead and click that follow or subscribe button. That way new episodes will come out and will be immediately on your phone. And if you're looking for more resources, we've got those so you can learn about Salesforce Foundations. Just head on over to admin.salesforce.com for a wealth of content, all for Salesforce admins directly for you, including a transcript of today's show. And don't forget to join our conversation in the Admin Trailblazer group. That's in the Trailblazer community. Again, link is in the show notes. Show notes are at admin.salesforce.com. We keep it all together for you in one place. Speaking of keeping it all together, until next week, we'll see you in the cloud.